Welcome, everybody, to Bible Bites. I'm Pastor Dan, and we are reading through the Bible one small bite at a time. We're starting Matthew 26 today. This is a beginning of a focus on those events leading up to the crucifixion of Jesus. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead here and read, start in verse 1. When Jesus had finished all these sayings, so of course, this is referring back to really chapters 24 and 25, where Jesus was talking about the end of the age, his second coming, as we call it. He said to his disciples, "You know that after 2 days the Passover is coming." So the Passover being a very sacred Jewish feast, a sacred holiday. "And the Son of Man," Jesus refers to himself often as the Son of Man, "will be delivered up to be crucified." So Jesus is actually prophesying, telling them ahead of time, this is exactly how I am going to die. I'm going to be delivered up to be crucified. And the crucifixion really was only for criminals, for extreme criminals. So it would probably seem odd to the disciples that Jesus was saying he would be crucified. Then the chief priests and the elders of the people gathered in the palace of the high priest, whose name was Caiaphas, and plotted together in order to arrest Jesus by stealth to kill him. But they said, "Not during the feast, lest there be an uproar among the people." Now, Jesus often had confrontations with with the Jewish religious people, Jewish religious leaders, and they didn't like him. At least many of them didn't. Often they were jealous of him. They didn't believe he was a prophet or even the Son of God. And so they sought to kill him. But they didn't really want to do it in a fashion that caused a lot of attention. And they certainly didn't want to do it during the Passover because they were, I think, afraid of the people, that it would it'd make them look pretty bad and might cause quite an uproar, as they said here, because of it being done during the sacred Jewish feast. Now, when Jesus was at Bethany, and Bethany is on the outskirts of Jerusalem, and they were in the house of Simon the leopard. This I can't remember if this is an actual story in the Bible, like a man that Jesus healed. It probably is, but for whatever reason, it's not coming to my mind. But this would be Simon's testimony, right? I was a leper, but Jesus healed me. But Jesus was dining in his house with his disciples. But a woman came up to him with an alabaster flask, a very expensive ointment. So this is just a flask, um, sort of like a canteen, maybe a little bit like a leather flask. And it had some pretty expensive perfume in it. Now, John and the Gospel of John, he tells this same story, and he indicates that this woman was Mary, who was the sister of Lazarus. Lazarus was a man that Jesus had raised from the dead. Okay, so she pours this on Jesus' head as he reclined at the table. And when the disciples saw it, they were indignant, they were upset or mad. And by the way, John also indicates that the disciple, particularly the disciple who was upset about this, was Judas. And this was the one who, I think it was the Judas who betrayed Jesus. And they said, why are you wasting this? Or why this waste? For this could have been sold for a large sum and given to the poor. But Jesus, aware of this, said to them, why do you trouble the woman? So they were making her feel bad maybe about this. They were shaming her perhaps. For she has done a beautiful thing to me. So Jesus is saying, wow, this is what she did is a good thing. For you always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. And pouring this ointment on my body, she has done it to prepare me for burial. Jesus saw what she did as symbolic of preparing him for his burial. And in those days, you would often pour perfumes or put spices on a corpse before you would bury them, before you would put their body in a tomb. So Jesus sees this as symbolic. And he says, truly I say to you, wherever this gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. So you think about this gospel of Jesus being told in many different countries, all over the world, many different languages, and this story about this woman is remembered. All right, so let's go ahead here and read verse 14, 16. We'll stop then. Then one of the 12, whose name was Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priest and said, "What will you give me if I deliver him over to you?" And they paid him 30 pieces of silver, which was not much money, by the way. It was not really that large a sum. And from that moment, he sought an opportunity to betray him. So Jesus' own disciple, a friend of Jesus, betrayed him. Though Jesus, Matthew doesn't tell us this here, but in another gospel, we're told that Jesus actually knows already that Judas is going to betray him and actually prophesies that. All right, so we'll pick up in verse 17 in our next reading. Until then, be blessed.